Hey, it's Jordan here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we've been reporting on a whole lot of things. Breonna Taylor, over a year later, still no justice, and frankly, a lot of corruption and a cover-up. But we've also been talking to folks about basically they've been being evicted here, residents, mostly black residents, even though there's been a moratorium. And I think the media and the federal government have kind of pushed this myth that everybody's been protected for over a year, but that's not the case, which we're about to show. So I'm here with Heather Boyd. You've been living in Louisville for a while, and you are actually working with the U.S. Census Bureau when you got laid off last year in August. So let's start there. COVID was running wild, as you said. So tell me about what happened. You got laid off, and then what was the communications like with your landlord at the time?
Okay. Well, actually, I lost my job in August. Filed for unemployment benefits. Never received one payment from unemployment. Did fall behind on the rent. Reached out to Louisville Metro. They had a Eviction Prevention program. Submitted all my paperwork to never get resolution.
I just want to tell the audience, Louisville Metro is the city government. So it's the Metro City Council. So you reached out to the city government.
Submitted all my paperwork to never get a resolution. I was actually under contract with Section 8 as well. Section 8, my lease expired in December, and it was never renewed by the landlord due to Section 8. And, no one was in the office, and a lot of paperwork was behind. I also signed up with the Eviction Prevention, and I was actually evicted in March. But the reason why I was evicted was not for non-payment of rent. They went around that, and he evicted me for not being under contract. There was no accountability with this. I actually should have been helped in October when I initially applied. Turned in all paperwork. What I was advised were they were paying phone tag. Either the landlord was unable to reach the counselor, or the counselor was unable to reach the landlord. And then Christmas break, the month of December, and then January, boom, we're still here. The moratorium was supposed to expire the 31st, and it was extended. I had been receiving letters. I reached out to legal aid. I also contacted the Eviction Prevention, was told that, they can't do that. The landlord can't do that. And this was with a lawyer, with legal aid. So I thought I was being protected. I ended up getting a call from work in March, and I was evicted. The landlord actually had a mask on and was helping the sheriff set me out. I didn't even realize he was the property owner until, we were like, this is Roberto. He took off his mask. But just to say, although we're supposed to be protected, they still threw families out. I contacted Louisville Metro, and no help, no accountability. I sent numerous emails. I even called the director over the program. Still no accountability. Once I finally reached her, there was nothing that she could do. She didn't even, say she was sorry. Didn't help at all. I was able to obtain emergency housing through Black Lives Matter. I'm also an organizer with Black Lives Matter, and I work on their cook team. So I'm really one of their own. So, I was able to, get emergency housing. And here today, which is the 22nd of June, I am just now getting approved for a unit. So I have been houseless roughly 4 months. And I've never been through any type of situation like this in my life. It's just, you know, the state with the unemployment, the being hours on the spending hours on hold to never get, sending numerous emails to never get any resolution. I obtained employment with NIPR-RX in January. And actually, I'm a pharmacy technician. NIPR-RX gave me a chance, but between the time, I basically cooked meals out of my house, you know, just to get by. But I never got one dime of unemployment that was supposed to help protect us during COVID.
I want to understand. So you get laid off in August. You start falling behind on your rent soon after. December, the lease is up where you were. They can't evict you for non-payment based on the eviction moratorium. So in March, he was going to evict you because you weren't on a contract, but you weren't on a contract because the lease was up and he wouldn't let you renew the lease. Do I have it all correct?
You have it correct.
And in between all this, you applied for unemployment. You got laid off during the pandemic, so you should have got it, but that fell through. You are relying on the city government, so you're reaching out to the city government, basically telling them, or emails, calls, where's my eviction protection? What about unemployment? You reach out to legal, saying, can this landlord evict me? And at some point you did catch up on your payment from what you said, but again, he just wouldn't re-sign a lease with you. So it sounds like ultimately when you got evicted, it wasn't because of non-payment, it was because of he wasn't letting you re-sign the lease.
That is correct.
And I don't know, call me old-fashioned, but I know Louisville got a lot of money for the federal government, just like other cities did. So why is this a bureaucratic maze? Why did you not get the unemployment? Why is it that you have to play phone tag with legal and city government when it should just be straightforward? You file unemployment, you get it, and you should have gotten, the landlord should have gotten paid through the government if you were behind on your rent. But it sounds like the landlords just use these loopholes to get rid of folks like you, and the city government didn't do anything to stop it.
Exactly. And not only being a Section 8 participant, I know that they also got money in September through the Louisville Metro Housing. So it's really it's not been a lot of accountability with these funds to help people being evicted, and families are still being evicted.
The landlords got money from the Housing Authority, you're saying?
Yes.
So they're getting money from the Housing Authority while evicting people during a pandemic that federally they're not allowed to evict. So it sounds like a lot of loopholes and a lot of inhumane disregard for citizens, mostly working poor and minorities here.
That is correct, definitely.
And let me ask you, you know, I think a lot of people, they hear, first it was under Trump, then Biden, oh, there's an eviction moratorium. Oh, you know, billions of dollars to rental relief, all this. But then it kind of leaves, and then things like this happen that most people don't know about. Do you think the reason you didn't get on the unemployment, the reason you got evicted, this and that, is it bureaucracy, or is it kind of intentional to essentially the government, one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing, or they're just intentionally not responding to residents like you?
There is no accountability. You know, all these different agencies are supposed to help the people. They're supposed to get this relief. Not the Urban League. I'm gonna call the Urban League out because they got funds to help the community. I did a doodle for them. They never reached back out. So where is the money? If you're getting these federal funds to help people, and you're not, where's the money? Did it go back to the federal government? I'm pretty sure it didn't. Like, there's no accountability. And all these programs that are put in place to help people when they're at their lows, they're not. People are still being evicted. People are still being houseless. The moratorium did not protect, you know, a lot of people. People still lost their homes, you know, because of the pandemic.
And for you, I want to set the scene here. If you're getting threatened in December, your lease is up. Your lease is up. I don't know, in December there was like 200 to 250,000 cases of COVID a day. You still had 2,000 to 3,000 people dying. The vaccine wasn't being distributed really yet. I mean, you must have been scared out of your mind when you're getting threatened to be evicted. You still don't have a job at that point. Where are you going to go? Talk to me about that.
Yes, it's been very stressful. It's caused a lot of stress. You know, who would have known that we would have had this pandemic? Like, I wasn't prepared, just like, you know, a majority of people. I don't have a year's worth of savings. I live from paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, and I've got health issues, you know. So, you know, it has been a scary experience. And it's also been unfair, you know. You can't help who you are and you know what you are, but you know it needs to be some accountability.
And I don't know, call me cynical, but I see a lot of gentrification going on around here. I call it economic terrorism, frankly, because gentrification is pretty vague. But Louisville, you know, you go downtown, wonderful, beautiful, bars, restaurants, hotels. Drive like 7 to 10 minutes down the road, it's a whole nother world. And it seems to me if predominantly black people were being evicted during this moratorium, despite there being a federal moratorium, doesn't that kind of allow landlords, private interests that might own these buildings to do what they've been wanting to do, which is force people out, minority people in particular, out of these buildings, out of these apartments, out of these homes, so that they could further gentrify?
I definitely agree. It's a lot of gentrifying going on. Everything is sky high. The property is so run down. I'm just now finding something that's decent to live in. And they're also calling my mother. She lives the West End, right, not too far from the river. 73-year-old woman. They're also trying to buy her house, which is not for sale. So yes, it's a lot of investors. It's a lot of people. It's $150,000, $160,000 houses now marked up in a $30,000 to $40,000 house range. So yeah, it's big business right here now.